All right, good evening. The time is now 6:01 p.m. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Dalton.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hall.
Here.
Commissioner Jamie Fairbanks Harvey.
Here.
Commissioner Terry Holmes.
Here.
Commissioner Hayes Wilkinson.
I'm here.
For today's invocation, please join me in a moment of silence to reverently collect our thoughts, pray, and ready ourselves for this meeting and the duties to which we have been called. Thank you. Now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Granum, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And now for my mayor's report. Welcome everyone. Happy Black History Month. As a reminder, our rescheduled MLK Day of Service cleanup event is this Saturday, February 8th from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. We'll meet at the Be Caffeinated here in Red Bank to get coffee, snacks, and supplies before heading out to our cleanup locations. In case you missed it, we have new map, trail, and wayfinding signage on Stringer's Ridge and the White Oak Connector Trail. Thank you to our partners at Trust for Public Land, the City of Chattanooga, and the Chattanooga Tourism Company for collaborating on this project. I was honored to be a part of a focus group yesterday for Erlanger North's upcoming Community Health Needs Assessment alongside Public Works Director Greg Tate, Fire Captain Andrew Wood, and other community leaders. I'm looking forward to seeing the final report when it's released in July of this year, and to building a renewed relationship with Erlanger North. If you are interested in updates on what projects and planning initiatives we've been working on here in Red Bank, please tune into our work session and also to our February newsletter that was just sent out yesterday. Last week, I was thrilled to help celebrate the official launch of Chattanooga 2.0's Chattanooga Future Fund, a new college and career savings account for Hamilton County Public School students. The fund creates a new savings account and contributes $150 to each kindergartner and middle school student to get it started. To sign up and find out more information, go to ChattanoogaFutureFund.org. Many thanks to all who attended our final meeting last week to collect public input on our first ever comprehensive plan and our small area study of the former Red Bank Middle/High school site. If you weren't able to attend last week, you still have an opportunity to provide feedback. The vision and concept boards have been uploaded to the city's website. You can go to redbanktn.gov, then go to the government tab, then click on Red Bank Planning Initiatives Updates to view the boards. And if you have any comments, you can email them to our community planner, Michael Pham, at mpham@redbanktn.gov. And lastly, thank you to White Oak Bicycle Co-op for their recent donation of new bicycles to the Bike Club at Red Bank Elementary. Because of these donations, 4 students have learned how to ride a bike for the first time ever. We are so grateful to White Oak Bicycle Co-op for their partnership and dedication to gifting the joy of riding to neighbors of all ages. And now our Vice Mayor's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Please mark your calendars for Saturday, March 1st for Red Bank's 4th annual Weed Wrangle Invasive Plant Removal event. This year's location will be the Gear Closet at 305 Signal Mountain Road. That's across from the entrance to Baylor School and just inside of the Red Bank city limits, which some people don't know that's part of Red Bank still. We'll convene at 9 a.m. and work on the bank of Stringer's Branch that runs behind that building. So please dress for rough terrain. Pants, long sleeves, gloves, closed-toed shoes are all recommended. We'll be removing primarily invasive privet, honeysuckle, and kudzu until about noon. Experience is not required. This is a great opportunity to have a chance to learn about invasive plants, how to ID them, effective removal techniques that you can then take home to your own private property. Removing invasive plants is one of the most effective steps that you can take as an individual to improve the quality of habitat and restore native plant and animal species to your yard. And the next Red Bank Community Food Pantry is this Thursday, February 6th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at Red Bank United Methodist. And you can sign up to volunteer on their website and their Sign Up Genius. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Next, we have our report from Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey.
Thank you. Thank you for attending this evening. Here's to February Heart Month, as well as Black History Month, sponsored by American Heart Association. And National Wear Red Day is this Friday, February 7th, to recognize awareness of the #1 killer of women, which is cardiovascular disease. That includes heart disease and stroke, and it's claimed more lives in the United States than all forms of cancer and accidental death. Those are the #2 and #3 causes of death combined. I think we can do better in Red Bank. We have plenty of spaces to walk and talk, and that will help de-stress us. Recognize your numbers for cholesterol, blood pressure, resting heart rate, blood sugars, along with your family history. And as important are your behaviors, such as physical activity, nutrition, stress release, and sleep, that help control your cardiovascular risk for stroke and heart attacks. Have a conversation with family members about their heart and health conditions as a family history. You can learn more at www.heart.org. I also attended the Chattanooga Future Funding for kindergarten and middle schoolers. There was a representative of the kindergartners, the delightful video of some children who will be recipients of that, and then middle schoolers. And every time a speaker would say future, they threw up a paper, because it is a great opportunity and investment by any of us. Churches, individuals, families can contribute to the classroom or individual children. And Mayor Dalton mentioned the website, Chattanooga Future Fund. Link Sparks organized 2 Saturdays last month for the 36th year annual Valentine's for Veterans, Operation Love. 100 participants shared time and shared love to create 1,400 cards. Residents from Sale Creek, Saudi Daisy High, Boyd Buchanan, and other out-of-town folk, is in addition to Red Bank residents, and a team of hospice people, former students of Links, were there. And she shares a special thanks to Mr. Jeffrey Gray for his help to meet at the community center. Next Listen and Learn will be Monday, February 17th at Sabor from 6 to 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, we have our report from Commissioner Holmes.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're enjoying this warmer weather that we're having these past couple days. Seems like we were just shoveling snow, maybe. Thanks to everyone who attended the community meeting. As Mayor Dalton mentioned, that was on January 28th. Please continue to share input about the former middle school property. Please check the website for information and happenings in the city. This month, Mayor Dalton is featured in the newsletter along with heating safety, Super Bowl watch party safety. Also information about 2 local businesses, CrossFit 1099 and the Chambliss Center for Children. It is also Black History Month. Please take a moment to read and research the contributions of people that are often left out of history books, but made and are still making an impact in this country and globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And finally, we have a report from Commissioner Wilkinson.
Okay. The 2024 impact report from the White Oak Bicycle Co-op was released, and it is very impressive to say the least. A couple highlights from that report. In 2024, they donated 769 bikes back into the community. It's an average of 2.1 bikes a day. And of those 769 bikes, 54% were for adults and 46 were for kids. So pretty wide-ranging impact for both groups. They distributed 110 bicycle locks, which is a big deal for adults who are using their bike to commute to work. Yeah. 103 safety programs, or they've conducted 103 safety programs. And in those 103 programs, they had 4,836 participants. And they are extending their reach, and they have 121 community partners, which is pretty amazing. Chattanooga is not that big, but but 121 community partners is really incredible. And then, yeah, as Mayor Dalton mentioned, there's new signage and maps up at Stringer's Ridge. They look really nice. If you're not super familiar with those trails, they help a lot.
Excellent.
So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the city manager's report, Mr. Branham.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Heartfelt thank you to Hamilton County Trustee Bill Hollander and his Chief Deputy Susan Bedwell, who hosted our Chief Financial Officer Chris Pickle, our Director of Administration and Finance Tracy Perry, and myself for a get to know each other meeting. As our CFO is new, we're going on a Red Bank charm offensive. And next up will be the tax appraiser and other agencies that are really important to us as we provide the municipal service. I encourage everyone to read the fantastic February newsletter, which has been mentioned. And by the way, a shout out to last month's too. If you didn't read the January one, I encourage everybody to go back and read it. There's an article from Chief of Police Dan Seymour that's just outstanding. It talks about crime stats and the nature of our community vis-a-vis crime, which is very important to people. And that's a powerful article from your Chief of Police. So that was the January newsletter. And the February one now is a great article from Mayor Dalton that highlights many of the various planning efforts we have ongoing. Our community development department, and especially Director Leslie Johnson, who we've just recently heard from, are doing a fantastic job in managing the various consultants, stakeholder groups, public engagement efforts, and the development of concepts that flow from all that. The future of Red Bank is taking shape. I tell everybody we're in a season of planning, so please participate. Stay informed, be involved, help us create the city of tomorrow that we all want. I'll highlight 3 ongoing brick and mortar projects as well as all this planning that are currently in execution. The new restrooms near the community center are nearing completion. Upstairs in this building, there's a renovation of the detectives' offices, which is long overdue, and that's ongoing. And lastly, we just made the first pavement cuts towards a pedestrian crossing of Memorial Drive at Ashmore. So watch for all these projects to be completed in the coming weeks and months. Shout out to staff who rose to the occasion during the recent Frigid Temps and snow event, and we did get to hear from Greg. He's got a 3-page after action report that's hugely useful to us as staff because it basically points us the direction for the next snow event as well. It's an after action hot wash and a plan for next time, all in one document. So Greg will present that next time. Our public works professionals rose to the occasion, and of course, as did police and fire. Finally, we will hold a ribbon cutting ceremony for the EV charging station on Tuesday, the 8th of February at 4 o'clock, just outside this building. All are invited, and especially those interested in finding out more about the 2 EV charging stations that we installed with grant funding. So please join us.
Tuesday, the what of February?
Tuesday, 18th of February.
18th.
Tuesday, 18th February, 4 o'clock, right here. Lastly, a reminder that the city offices will be closed Monday, 17th February in observance of President's Day. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Branham. Our first item of business is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
I'll move.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor Barry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any discussion? Oh, do I ask for discussion? Okay, any discussion? Okay.
I'll just say for the record, this is our first consent agenda, and I'm very excited. It includes the minutes for our work session, our regular commission meeting, our beer board meeting, and the reappointments of our Board of Zoning Appeals, Sonia Millard, and a new appointment of Chad Bullard. Did I say that correctly? Who is here with us. Thank you for being willing to serve.
Yes, and I think probably typically the protocol is we don't go through those consent agenda items. Is that correct? It's the first time, and I know we're very excited about what this. And
I want everybody to know what it is.
It's okay to do that, Mayor, if you want to. It is an opportunity for anybody to pull something off. If they
Sure.
wanted to, and
Sure.
the members of the commission, but to recap what's there is certainly appropriate.
But yes, thank you to Mr. Bullard, who is a new appointee to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We appreciate your willingness to volunteer. So highly recommended. Okay, most excellent. We expect great things from you. The maybe one time you meet every once a year or 2 years. Okay, if no other discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Cool.
Moving on to unfinished business, ordinance number 25-1271, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, to repeal and replace regulations for mobile food vehicles and pushcart vendors codified at Red Bank City Code Title 9, Chapter 15, Section 1501 et sec in the City of Red Bank, Tennessee. Second and final reading. Director Johnson.
Thank you. If you recall, we did go over last month for its first reading during work session and your regular agenda. But if you'll give me just a moment, I still would like to highlight what the major points are that's being addressed with this new ordinance. Although it does repeal and replace, given the size of the document, there's not a whole lot of significant changes, but it is a cleaner transaction of an ordinance. So first, and probably foremost, it does remove the distance requirement from other businesses. The current ordinance has it set at 250 feet. So the new regulation will remove that requirement. It is also allowing both operations in commercial and light manufacturing zones. Light manufacturing was added given some of the changes that we're seeing in redevelopment of existing spaces. So it makes sense to allow that mobile vending activity to happen. It does require an initial application fee of $50. Previously, there was no application fee where staff was accumulating and spending some resource time. So there is an application fee of $50 across the board. It also establishes an annual permit fee, which is determined by the legal business's entity license requirements. This comes into play if a entity is a registered business owner in Red Bank. Their permit fee is $50 a year. If they are not, and they are registered outside of Red Bank, then their fee is $150 a year. Trying to balance out those mechanisms as we go. Next, it does establish the building official as the authority to issue the permits, to determine decibel levels if necessary from generators, and he does have equipment to do that properly with. And it also allows him to be the enforcement authority in regards to this ordinance. Previously, it was identified as the city manager, which is not very practical from a food truck standpoint. Also, it does replace Public Works with Community Development as the overseeing department. And it did, as you recall, last meeting, we did make some changes to that printed ordinance you had. And it was to remove some sections that was requiring some personnel information from an applicant, which has been determined that's really not a venue that the city needs to be involved in when we look at food truck permit applications. So those are overall the major changes that is happening with your food truck ordinance.
Thank you, Director. Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Holmes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any further discussion? Just any discussion amongst the board before we go to that? Nope. Okay. Any comments from the residents present? Okay. There are no comments. Ms. Perry, can you please call the vote?
Mayor Dalton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Barry,
Yes.
Commissioner Fairbanks Harvey,
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
Yes.
And motion carries on second and final reading. And on to new business. Resolution number 25-1767, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee, authorizing an expenditure in an amount not to exceed $25,000 to Volker Inc. for professional engineering services under the approved City of Red Bank on-call service contract to develop a scope of work for the striping and lane reconfiguration of Dayton Boulevard from Signal Mountain Road and areas north of State Route 8 for the City of Red Bank Public Works Department. Director Tate.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Commissioners. The resolution before you began is a simple question posed by TDOT through the Chattanooga Transportation Office. Do you wish for TDOT to consider any type of lane changes when they repave State Route and restripe State Route 8 from Cherokee Boulevard, where Fraser Avenue ends, to where it turns on Signal Mountain Road? That was sometime in the spring of 2024. Staff planner Michael Pham and I had some initial discussion, and he proceeded to work with Chattanooga engineers and planners on what that might look like and how we could take advantage of this opportunity, since TDOT was the agency that was asking for the change. As most of the commissioners probably remember, the city had applied for and was denied a multimodal grant 3 times, 3 years in a row. This multimodal grant contained elements of what we're trying to do through this restriping process. Basically converting all of the lanes down to 3 lanes, where it widens and comes together and widens back out to make it 3 lanes all the way through the intersection to the tunnel. As Mr. Pham began planning with his Chattanooga colleagues, a vision emerged that staff could request this section of Dayton Boulevard and State Route 8 could be striped in this lane configuration that was sought as part of the multimodal grant. It was at this time that Mr. Pham and Chattanooga engineers created a design that would accomplish the following. It would reduce southbound traffic at Signal Mountain Road to a 1-lane pass-through with a dedicated right turn lane at Signal Mountain Road. It would merge traffic coming from Signal Mountain Road into a single southbound lane with an entrance to City Green, as well as an entrance coming off to Highway 27 as it continued on through the Stringers Ridge Tunnel. It would also, from the tunnel headed northbound on Dayton Boulevard, be restriped as a 3-lane with center turn lane, as well as a wide shoulder that could accommodate pedestrian and bike traffic, and will have a crossover at the bottom of Highway 27 where the pedestrian and bike traffic could continue. Beyond these restriping measures, TDOT expects the City of Red Bank to make additional required changes north of this intersection, basically from Signal Mountain Road, as far as we need to progress north on Dayton Boulevard, past, I'm kind of thinking past Ace Hardware. So these additional changes that will take place on State Route 8 and beyond State Route 8 will be the financial responsibility of the city. For this reason, we solicited a cost estimate for scope of work from Volker Incorporated under our on-call service agreement. Volker was asked to provide project management, engineering services required to produce a set of plans to reconfigure existing pavement markings, provide new striping patterns, and additional signage required for lane reductions, and identify necessary overhead signs and updated traffic control signals. In your handouts are copies of the project management scope and fees, as well as the breakdown of individual item fees in accordance with our on-call service agreement with Volker. We expect just any day that TDOT will release the final approved plans for the paving and restriping project, keeping in mind the paving project is solely a TDOT project with no requirements or no input from the City of Red Bank other than our request to restripe. The plans that will be created by Volker will be utilized to properly shape traffic patterns at this critical intersection while adding elements of the desired multimodal changes in accordance with the Commission goal of improving multimodal transportation throughout the City of Red Bank.
Thank you, Director Tate. Do I have a motion to approve?
I have a question.
Oh, God, can we get a motion and a second on the table first?
Oh, you had a discussion. Okay, I'll motion to approve. Move to approve.
Motion from Vice Mayor Barry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Wilkinson. Any discussion?
So you're saying TDOT has a plan already for the side past Waffle House, and then we want to continue it, but we need to do our side on our part.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. When you approach Valvoline, Everything TDOT's doing is Signal Mountain Road and to the right, everything that needs to take place to the left will have to be done by the city of Red Bank. They have agreed, I didn't express it in here, but they have agreed to paint striping on the side roads like East Frontage Road, Ashmore. They have agreed to repaint that. Initially, they told us we would have to do that, but their engineers confirmed in a meeting that Michael and I attended that they would paint that for a reasonable distance back off the main road.
Commissioner?
And this is strictly striping on the road, no sidewalk, but the lane will be designated for cyclists and pedestrians.
There will be, that will come as a part of another project. They're not going to paint any pedestrian or any cycling. They're going to put some sharrows down, was the last thing they said, but any other modifications would come as part of another project.
When you mentioned a lane for cyclists and
Well, it's going to create a shoulder
shelter.
that will be wide enough that cyclists and pedestrians would have a safe place to walk.
Okay.
By reducing the lanes. of
Not a
traffic.
lane, but the
Yeah,
shoulder.
You think when you come
from-
out of Ashmore Avenue, you're 4 lanes wide right there.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
no turn lane.
Yeah.
Just 4 lanes wide. And then it chokes down to 2, and then it opens back up to 5. And so it will be one continuous lane. Now, when you come from the tunnels and you're traveling north, once you cross Signal Mountain Road, right now it will go back to 2 lanes. Because we would have to do some major renovation to make that 1 lane on past Signal
2
Mountain.
lanes on each side.
I don't see the
2 lanes
question.
going north.
For travel lanes.
Yeah,
each
when
direction.
you come out of the tunnel and you get to Signal Mountain Road there at Val
Yes,
Lane and
yes.
Sabor,
Right.
that will go back to 2 lanes.
Okay,
But
okay,
everything going back the south will be 1 lane
okay. All right, thank you.
with a turn.
With the dedicated turn lane.
Quick question. I know that, so in that section that TDOT's working on, some of the roads that will intersect, like Ashmore and, I forget, Frontage Road, is that, anyway? You were saying that they'll pick up some of the slack for, or pick the difference for some of the striping.
Right.
I know that there were some improvements that needed to be made in that regard, so.
Yeah, they're not gonna make any improvements other than stripe.
Okay.
Yeah, now, we did, just this week, we did go, there was a concrete island that separated when you turned on East Frontage Road and then you turned off to the right to Elmwood. There was a concrete barrier. They asked us to remove that. We did. And in turn, they're going to mill and restripe all of that intersection. There won't be that concrete berm there anymore. There'll be fresh striping. We'll put up new signs when this is done.
Sounds good to me.
We already have a choke point where the tunnel is. It goes down to 2 lanes, obviously, and it's going to be, if that ever changes, it's going to be some time before that ever changes. So
Right.
now, since you already have just 1 lane of travel in each direction, northbound and southbound through the tunnel, then that will continue both north and south of the tunnel instead of having that, 4 lanes, like you said, bottleneck down to 2, open back up to 5. That's just, scrambling and shifting all the
People
cars.
get in front of each
And
other.
pedestrians
Not to
that are in
mention-
that area.
Right,
What happens on Cherokee
Yeah.
coming through it, the lanes narrow down.
right.
And I also see this as a good opportunity for us to reapply for the multimodal grant again.
Yep.
Because part of the work that we're having, the TDOT's going to be doing for us, part of that work was part of the multimodal grant. And they're gonna come in there and just do that. So, I see sidewalks and, bike lanes in our future, a little less costly multimodal grant maybe might get us in the door.
I do.
They work with us.
That's up to you.
I do recall there being a $1 million cap on that multimodal grant. And I remember with the application that we were making previously, we were kind of trying to stretch that $1 million to make the project that we wanted possible. But now if the repaving and the restriping were to go as planned, $1 million would be a much more achievable project for the remaining improvements that would be needed for sidewalk and bicycle access, maybe some buffered plantings and things like that.
Mayor Dalton,
Yes, Mr. Greenham.
do you mind if I add a little bit?
Please do.
Thank you, ma'am. Just want to give a shout out really to Michael Pham, and praise the previous commission who allowed us to staff that position. Choreographing this complex of a project just wasn't possible. without in-house planning, that could dwell. It was relationships that Michael formed with the Chattanooga Public Works team. They donated some professional engineering stamps to aspects of the project that come up State Route 8 into the city of Red Bank. So we benefited substantially from that really good working relationship. And then also shout out to Director Tate for the ability to, have these conversations at this level with Chattanooga and with TDOT. Really hard stuff to do. And so Greg and Mike really did it, or Greg and Michael Pham. And I also wanted to say, looking ahead, we had a lot of conversation, and it's kind of hard for maybe YouTube folks to follow the bouncing ball. But what we're talking about tonight is the Red Bank only part of this project, like a companion. So TDOT and Chattanooga and Red Bank are going to do the part that's State Route 8. But to make it all work, there's a part of this on Dayton Boulevard, and it's specifically the southbound stretch as you approach Signal Mountain. So those two lanes that that'd be on the right, if you will, as you come past basically Amigos, and you're approaching Signal Mountain, we need to segregate traffic there. The curbside will be right turn only onto Signal Mountain headed west, and the interior southbound lane will now be the one through lane. And so that requires this project. And so once we get Volker to do this project of the plans, then we anticipate actually the TDOT contractor actually executing the project for us. So you won't see a subsequent procurement for a separate wrench turning project. Our part of it is just to figure it out. And then we give it all to them and they execute it as one giant project. Am I getting that right, Greg?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Granum. I would just like to mention, I don't know if you did, Director Tate, but that the 25,000 maximum amount was budgeted in state street aid funds, correct? Okay. Thank you. Commissioner?
Did I read where there was a timeline possibly, or when it starts?
There's no timeline.
No.
TDOT right now is just saying they hope to start the RIF project in the spring
Which means summer or fall. Yeah,
or
well,
next year.
well, it's getting started anyway. Okay, all right, thank
No,
you.
I expect probably April, May timeframe.
Sure.
They were getting ready 2 weeks ago to put the contract together to let it out for bid. So
Okay.
I assume it'll take place early 2020 once that happens.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any comments from the residents present? On this item, yes. If there are no more comments, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we are at the point in time for citizen comments from Red Bank citizens on items not on the agenda. Mr. Granum.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments. Please observe these rules. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and the city recorder will operate a timer visible on the dais. Please respect her direction and conclude any comment if time expires. Comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner, the city staff, or the audience. The commission is here to listen, not to respond or engage in back and forth, so please do not expect a reply during citizen comment. At this time, citizens are invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
Thank you.
This is me.
Haley Road, 3102 East Navy. I would like to thank the Public Works, JD, when we were renovating the building that we're now in, which we got into Saturday, finally. He went out of his way to come pick up the debris, and the same day that I called. So I was really impressed with that. And it looks like they've already picked up the debris at the old store, I think, today, which is great, and I appreciate that. I've talked to Greg before about barriers that were supposed to come up down Morrison Springs in front of our new store that has been hit 3 times, I believe. He gave me a date of sometime this year, just letting me know I'm gonna keep pushing it. Because if you stand in front of that window and see how that traffic goes, it is scary, very scary there. And one thing I have noticed coming down that way and turning left, going north, you've got one lane that's got a variegated white line, but you don't have one in the second lane that's going left to show that you're supposed to stay in that area. And this is where they come right over and get to the right lane going to Ashland Terrace. They come out right there and it's scary. I invite all of you to come stand in front of that window. You will have a different view of everything. So if I could keep it updated on the barriers, I'd be real happy with that. You can see less than me.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe. Any other citizen comments on items not on the agenda? Okay. If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
I have a motion from Commissioner Wilkinson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Vice Mayor Barry. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
That was quick.
Yeah.